Hello and welcome to day 27 of hashtag July Postcard Play, hosted by Carrie the Crafter. And today I wanted to play with a technique with using like watercolors and wet medium, inspired by Robin McClendon again, and her awesome book. I highly recommend it. And I was rewatching, this is what the front of it looks like. You can get it on Amazon, I'll link it below. And I was rewatching her live stream from last Saturday. Every Saturday she does a premiere where it's a video, but she's in the chat, so you get to chat with her and stuff, and it's really fun. I highly recommend it. It's Saturdays, I think 8 a.m. Mountain Time. I only know my Mountain Time, but it might change because she's in Arizona, and I don't think they have time change, so I know sometimes it's earlier for me, depending on daylight savings. Anyhow, that being said, so I wanted to play with this sort of watercolory wet technique. And one of the things that I find that she does that sort of sets it apart from maybe other wet techniques is she sprays it with alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, to get what she describes as like a stoning effect. And she recommends using a very absorbent paper and a very thick paper to absorb all the water. I'm using the Canson Watercolor 140 pound paper. And she also talks about using it the smooth side down, because if there's a bit of graininess, it doesn't absorb as quickly. So we're going to try that side. So I've done sort of wet on wet techniques, but not exactly the way she showed. One of the things she said is she'll have some acrylic paint and she'll water it down and just kind of brush that on the plate. So I've just got a Naples yellow, and I'm gonna just add some water to it. And she was explaining that helps to break down the binders. So as you know, I don't have any formal training in art or jelly plating or whatever, and I learn from YouTube and from others, and I try to take techniques and maybe, put my own flair on it, but I wouldn't say that I invent any of these techniques. So I try to say who my inspiration is, unless it's something that's just so widely known out there that you can't really attribute it to one person. All right, so that's pretty watery. So I'm going to try to do like an abstract landscape. So I'm gonna just add maybe a bit more water first. She had hers quite soupy. So I'm just gonna do that. And I'm gonna put some up here too. So I'm enjoying the hashtag July Postcard Challenge, doing so much art at once. And you can see it beads up. That's what watercolor does on the gel plate. And I'm gonna add the Payne's Gray last, actually. So I'm gonna add some Infusions, Rusty Car. I just think this is just such a great color. And Infusions has walnut ink in it, so there will be some brown. And I'm gonna add some of this. I just put a little thumbtack in the top to make like a sprinkler. These are Magicals. They came in different containers, but I got these containers and it did the same thing, so I can just use it as a sprinkle. Just gonna add a lot of water to that. She used, on her last week's video, she used some eye zinc sprays, which I have, but I'm just gonna try using this today. She uses a gold eye zinc spray. I don't have the gold one, so I'm just gonna put some drops of gold acrylic ink, if I can get it out. Mine's getting a little bit thick, I think. So I'm just gonna put some blobs. So I'm gonna do the postcard and we're gonna cut it down to find an area. Ooh, that's a lot. Find an area we like. Okay, lastly, I'm gonna add this Payne's Gray. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna water it down. And I'm using Payne's Gray because it's a softer color. I didn't want black. I want to get, as she describes, like a real stony sort of look. Just gonna add a bit more water. I'm going for a stony landscape, if that makes sense. And then I don't know how I'm gonna finish it. We'll see what the print inspires. So I'm just gonna kind of do this down the middle. Okay, and then what she did too is she used alcohol to spritz it to get things to break up even more. And this is what she says creates her sort of stony look. Just going to spread out that gold a bit more. All right, a bit more alcohol spray. So this is very wet. And then what Robin explains is she just puts her paper down, smooth side down, and she doesn't really like press down on it hard. She just kind of lightly touches it to let it absorb and spread out. And if you don't get enough coverage, you can add more layers. I think our edges are going to be not quite covered. And I'm just going to press down a bit more now that there's more, it's had more time to absorb. I've got some inkiness on me. Whoop, it slipped a bit, that's okay. I'm just pressing a little bit more. I don't know if she did it this way, I don't recall. I'll take a little peek. Yeah, we are getting that stoning effect that she talked about, so I'm going to just lift that up. I'm just going to move this aside for a second. And then she said you can also use your paintbrush to add more painterly effects as it's drying. And I think I'm going to actually use a baby wipe and just pick up a little bit. Do I want to pick it up or do I want to let it spread more? I'm going to use some water. Some alcohol. I like that splotchy look there. I'm gonna just pick up a little bit of this brown in the middle. Like here, it's a bit too dark, but we don't have to use that part necessarily. I'll just lighten it a little bit. And here it's a little thick. The gold there is a little thick. I'm just gonna do that. Spread it a little bit. I like how the teal color really exploded at the top there. I'm definitely gonna want to use that portion. Okay, I'm gonna just let that dry. So here's our print. I dried it with my heat gun, so I was turning it back and forth. So some of these splatters, I don't know if they happened when I was turning back and forth, but they could actually be some of the walnut crystals in the infusions, and you can see how the infusions has different colors in it that kind of come out, and then that brown, and then combined with the Payne's Gray acrylic paint, and then also the Magicals. I don't know if I explained that. This is time traveling teal. The Magicals have different colors in them as well. The Magicals, once they're activated and dry, they are permanent. The infusions are not permanent though, so if you want to add layers, you have to just know that so that you can add layers appropriately. The gold acrylic ink got a little bit chunky, but I'm not mad at that. And I like how the stoning effect that Robin explains from the alcohol hitting the paint. You can see all those yummy areas, I think. This is my 4x6 viewfinder from that I made from a previous video. And I've just immediately drawn to this part here. I just love that teal color. I definitely want to go here. I think I want to keep that little bit in. Yeah, I'm just really drawn to that. I don't think I like this splooch there as much, so I'm going to just kind of keep it over here. I'm just going to mark that with pencil. Just kind of just a little bit in the corner, and then I'll trim that. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit of a kind of horizon line, and then we'll try to blur it or drip it. I'm just going to use this leftover Payne's Gray that I have with just a round brush, and I'm just going to more. Just going to kind of do that. Let's spray it a bit and see. So we're reactivating a little bit of the other stuff. Maybe we need more of a drippy ink. Let me go get an ink. Just going to use this Bombay ink, which is actually permanent. I'm going to put some here in my little palette. And I'm just going to use a palette knife to kind of scrape it in there into the wet. That's where I sprayed it. It's a little bit wet. Spray it a little bit more. This part dried. We're just going to let that kind of bloom out. I'm holding it flat with my finger. Now I'm just trying to go with the flow. There's a bit too much water there. And the nice thing with the palette knife is it's very thin. You can add some lines. I think I'm going to have another one coming down here. Just going to wet it just slightly, but I don't want the whole thing wet. So I'm just going to cover that part. this little area wet here. So once this Bombay ink dries, it's permanent. But while it's wet, it can flow and do some fun things. Just want a bit more definition here, but not too much. I really like what's going on there, but I'm going to add just a little bit more. Okay, now I got to think about adding my number. Okay, so today's 27. I want to leave the sky as it is. If I put it here, it's going to be too obvious. I think I just have to scratch it into the bottom here, but this tool here is pretty scratchy. Let's just do this. And right here, it's just kind of blooming a little bit. And I'm going to just give it one more dry with the heat gun, and then we'll give you a zoom by. So this could be a mistake, but I think I'm going to ink the edges just a little bit with my archival, just to get the white edge off here. I don't want to bring it onto the surface too much, especially in the sky. I think down here I might add a little bit more darkness to the bottom. Just kind of ground it a little bit more. So I had a lot of fun with this technique. I definitely will do more of it. I love the unpredictable nature of it. It's our postcard for day 27 using a very wet technique. Again, I use the Rusty Car Infusions, the Magicals Time Travel Teal, a little bit of gold acrylic ink. We did some Payne's Gray and Naples Yellow, very watered down. We did some water spraying. We did some alcohol alcohol spray, isopropyl alcohol. This initially was 70%. I filled it with 91% alcohol or 99%, I'm not sure. Just from the drugstore. And then we added just some little sketchy landscape details using the black India ink, using our palette knife. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and you have a great rest of your day. And thanks for watching. Bye-bye.